We are excited to announce the release of Kasm Workspaces 1.18, packed with new cutting-edge features, major enhancements, and fixes that make your experience smoother. We have several highlights for this release. Starting off with our new bulk import feature. You can now import both users and servers in bulk by directly uploading a CSV file on your Kasm admin panel. This makes it easier to scale your Kasm environment quickly, onboarding large teams and compute resources without hassle. To bulk import users to your Kasm deployment, log into your Kasm admin panel and go to Access Management, Users, and select Import Users. From here, you can first download a CSV template that contains the supported CSV schema for importing users. To learn more about the CSV formatting, supported fields, and which of them are required, you can refer to our documentation. As an example, I already have a CSV file with 5 users, including their usernames and passwords. The other fields are optional, but you can make use of them for more control if needed. I will simply upload this CSV file onto my Kasm dashboard and click Submit. As you can see, the new users from the CSV file are now added to my Kasm deployment. You can similarly bulk import servers by going to Infrastructure, Servers, and then click Import Servers. Once again, you can download the template CSV file as a starting point. We strongly recommend that you read the documentation to understand more about the supported CSV schema for importing servers. In 1.18, we are also introducing server enrollment tokens that streamline the process of adding multiple Windows servers to your Kasm deployment. Instead of configuring each server manually on the Kasm admin panel, you can now pre-configure a server template and generate a reusable enrollment token for that template. You can then use this token to deploy a fleet of Windows servers that inherit the pre-configured settings from the server template. This helps save time and ensure consistency across all registered Windows servers. To create a server enrollment token, go to Infrastructure, Servers, Server Enrollment Tokens, and click Add Token. Here you can configure different settings for your server template. Start by giving it a name. Choose the deployment zone and the server pool if you have one. You can then define the maximum number of times your enrollment token can be used. For example, if you want to be able to deploy 5 servers using this token, you can set this to 5. Once created, you will be able to track how many times the token has been used in real time. Next, set an expiration date for your token to control how long it remains valid. The connection type is locked to RDP, as that is the only supported protocol for this feature at the moment. For the connection port, I'll set it to 3389, which is the default RDP port. You can then select the connection credential type that will be used to authenticate to the service. For this example, I'll set it to static credentials and then enter the username and password for my servers. You can also define the maximum simultaneous sessions you want to allow per server. Finally, click Save, and this will generate a new token for you to use while enrolling new servers with the Kasm desktop service. You can now use this token when registering a Windows machine with the Kasm desktop service, and the pre-configured settings will automatically be applied to this Windows machine. The token can enroll multiple servers in the same way as long as the maximum use limit and the expiration date have not been exceeded. At any time, you can check how many times a token has been used by simply viewing it directly in the admin panel. Starting from 1.18, we introduced the option to assign labels to servers, agents, pools, and even deployment zones. Labels give you control over where workspace sessions are launched. For any workspace, you can either include labels or exclude labels, making sure that the sessions are launched only on the agents or servers that meet your criteria. For example, I have 2 agents here on my deployment. One is a default agent called Proxy, and the other one is a newly added agent. For the default agent, I'll assign a label called Agent A. And for the new agent, I'll assign another label called Agent B. Next, I'll apply these labels to my workspace settings. For instance, I have 2 container-based workspaces, Chrome and Firefox. I'll edit the Chrome workspace and select the Agent A label in Include Labels, which tells Kasm to create Chrome sessions only on my default agent, or in other words, Agent A. Similarly, I'll edit the Firefox workspace and select Agent B in Include Labels. Now if I launch two Chrome sessions, both the sessions will be created on my default agent or Agent A. No Chrome sessions will ever be created on other agents because of the assigned label. If Agent A runs out of compute resources, new Chrome sessions will fail to launch saying that no resources are available. Similarly, when I launch a Firefox workspace, the session is always created on the new agent or Agent B and not on any other agent. In the same way, you can assign labels to servers, pools, or even deployment zones to control where both container-based sessions and Windows-based sessions are launched. We have also introduced a new mode called Draining Mode that you can apply to auto-scaled Docker agents on your Kasm deployment. When an agent is set to the draining mode, it will no longer accept any new sessions. Existing sessions on the agent will continue running until they are naturally terminated. Once all the sessions are cleared, the agent is automatically deleted, allowing for a graceful scale down without disrupting active users. This makes maintenance easier because it helps ensure that agents get rotated out with new ones that contain the latest OS and security patches. In your autoscale configuration, you will now find a setting called Rotate Agent, where you can define the number of days until the agents are drained and replaced with new agents. You can set it to 0 if you want to disable this feature. You will also find another setting called Pre-warm Rotated Agent Replacement, where you can define the number of minutes before the agent's drain time that you want Kasm to begin provisioning a replacement agent. This feature enables you to automatically drain old agents and replace them with new ones at regular intervals without any downtime. You can also manually set an autoscaled agent to drain mode by clicking on the arrow icon beside the agent and selecting Drain. As you can see, the agent is now in the draining state, but it is not immediately deleted. This is because it has an active session on it. When I delete this active session, the agent will then be automatically destroyed by Kasm. Draining mode can be especially useful when an administrator updates the autoscale configuration. For example, changing the CPU count, memory, or disk size for agents. In this case, older agents that were launched with the previous configuration can be set to the draining mode so that they are replaced with new agents that have the updated configuration. Currently, draining mode is only supported for Docker agents, but we are working on supporting it for servers as well in an upcoming release. Starting in 1.18, Kasm can now also display container logs directly on the logging interface. By default, container logging is disabled, but you can enable it at a group level with a simple setting. To enable container logging, navigate to Access Management, Groups, and edit the group where you want to enable container logging. Open the Settings tab and click Add Settings. Add a new setting named Enable Container Logging and set its value to True. Once enabled, all logs generated by session containers for that group will be captured and displayed in the Kasm logging interface, making it much easier to troubleshoot issues and monitor session activity in real time. For example, let's launch a Chrome session. To view the logs generated by this Chrome container, go to Diagnostics and then Logging. From there, click on More Filters and set the application filter to Session. This will display all the session container logs related to the Chrome session, making it easy to trace events and troubleshoot containers in real time. In 1.18, we've introduced two major enhancements to Smart Card Passthrough, powered by our new Kasm Smart Card Bridge native client application. Firstly, we now support Smart Card Passthrough to container-based sessions on both Windows and macOS clients. To enable this feature, download and install the Kasm Smart Card Bridge native client app that is available for both Windows and macOS. Next, install the Kasm Smart Card Bridge Chrome extension from the web store. The native client app works together with this extension to provide pass-through support. Finally, you need to enable Smart Card Passthrough via a group setting on Kasm. To do that, navigate to Access Management, Groups, select the desired group and click Edit. Go to the Settings tab and click Add Settings. Add the setting called Allow Kasm Smart Card Passthrough and set its value to true. Once enabled, any smart card connected to the local machine will be passed through to the container-based session. For example, let me launch an Ubuntu Jammy workspace. In the control panel, I can now see a new option called Smart Card. And when I click on it, it shows that the Chrome extension is enabled and both the reader and smart card are connected and passed through to the session. To validate this, I will use this website to authenticate against a test server. The workflow first prompts me for my password, then allows me to select my certificate. Once selected, the authentication completes successfully, confirming smart card passthrough is working end-to-end. We have also introduced a major smart card enhancement for Windows sessions. Previously, smart card passthrough to web-native Windows sessions was only supported on Chrome OS clients. Starting in 1.18, this support has been extended to both Windows and Mac OS clients. With the same Kasm Smart Card Bridge native client application and the Chrome extension, users can now enable smart card passthrough for web-native Windows sessions on both Windows and Mac OS clients. To demonstrate this, let me launch a Windows session using the web-native client. Once again, in the control panel, I can now see an option called Smart Card, and when I click on it, it shows that the Smart Card passthrough is now active. To validate this, I'll use the same website to authenticate against a test server. As you can see, the workflow completes successfully. In 1.18, we have added support for defining custom RDP properties that are included in the generated RDP file when using the RDP thick client option. Microsoft maintains a full list of supported RDP file parameters, but note that some of these parameters are automatically overridden by Kasm group settings and cannot be set manually. A list of these reserved properties is documented in our docs. All other parameters can be customized as needed. As an example, let me define the keyboard hook parameter that controls whether Windows key combinations are applied to the remote session or not. The default value for this is 2, which means that the Windows key combinations are passed to the remote session. If you prefer to block these key combinations from being sent to the remote RDP session, you can override the property and set its value to 0. This disables passthrough so that Windows key combinations are only applied locally and not passed to the remote session. To define the RDP thick client properties on Kasm, go to Infrastructure, Servers, edit the desired server, and scroll down until you find the connection info field. Over here, I'll define a new JSON object with the attribute RDP thick client properties. Inside this, I will define the RDP file properties that I want to override. In this case, I will set the keyboard hook property to 0. Now when I try to launch a session for this server using the RDP client option, the generated RDP file will now include the overridden parameters and their respective values. Opening the RDP file will obviously connect you to the remote session, but as you can see, the Windows key combinations will now remain local instead of being passed through to the remote session. We also introduced support for ED25519 SSH keys in 1.18. You can now import an ED25519 SSH key in your user profile, and the key will be automatically injected into each Kasm session, provided that it's allowed by the administrator policies. For convenience, Kasm also auto-generates an ED25519 SSH key pair for you. You can download and use this key pair directly if you don't want to create and import your own. To ensure that SSH keys are injected into sessions, you'll need to configure a group setting. Navigate to Access Management, Groups, select the desired group and click Edit. Open the Settings tab and click Add Settings. Search for the setting Inject SSH Keys and set its value to True. With this enabled, every session launched by a user in that group will have a unique SSH key pair automatically injected tied specifically to that user, ensuring secure access. As with every release, 1.18 brings a ton of image updates and new additions to our workspace registry. We are excited to introduce 4 brand new workspaces to our registry. Obsidian, a powerful knowledge management and note-taking tool, Debian Trixie, which is the latest stable release of Debian, Fedora 41, which is the latest Fedora desktop environment, and CyberBro, which is an analysis tool designed for searching IOCs against reputable cyber threat intelligence services. We also updated our GIMP workspace to GIMP 3, bringing the latest features and performance enhancements. In addition to this, all of our 118 images now ship with the latest Kasm VNC 1.4.0, which includes numerous new features and bug fixes. One of the most notable improvements is the significant reduction in CPU usage thanks to more efficient multi-threading. In addition to these new features, Kasm Workspaces 1.18 also delivers a number of important bug fixes and performance improvements. Here are some of the notable enhancements coming in 1.18. In 1.18, we're introducing a new experimental feature that changes how persistent profiles are handled with the new Kasm Profile Sync storage provider. Storage mapping has always provided a way to attach external storage to sessions, supporting providers like Google Drive, Dropbox, AWS S3, and more. However, many of these providers cannot be used as a user's home profile in Linux. To solve this, we developed a new storage provider called Kasm Profile Sync. This is designed to replace the legacy S3-based profiles and offers a much more flexible, secure, and scalable solution, including support for unlimited file and profile sizes, centralized logging of all profile sync operations, and per-user encryption with SSEC, where each profile is protected by its own unique key managed by Kasm, and much more. However, please note that this is currently an experimental feature and has not yet been fully tested, so we do not recommend using this in production. To enable experimental features on your Kasm deployment, go to Settings, Global, scroll down and enable experimental features. Next, go to Storage Providers and click Add Storage Provider. Give it a name and select the storage provider type as Kasm Profile Sync. This automatically populates the volume configuration field, which you can customize by referring to our docs. For example, I can set the maximum storage limit for my provider here. I'll set it to 20 gigs for this demo. Click Save and this will create your new Kasm Profile Sync storage provider. I'll now attach it to my Ubuntu Jammy workspace. I'll simply edit my workspace and go to the Storage Mapping tab. Over here, click on Add Storage Mapping and select the storage provider that you just created. Fill in your S3 access key ID, secret access key, S3 bucket name, and click Next. Now when I launch a session, my home directory is automatically synced with the configured S3 bucket using the Kasm Profile Sync storage provider. DPI Scaling Fixes. We have addressed DPI scaling issues with Guacamole and RDP. If you're using a high-resolution display, such as 4K with 200% scaling, Windows-based sessions will now honor that setting, making the RDP session feel much more consistent with your local configuration. Graphics acceleration on Chrome. Prior to 1.18, graphics acceleration for Google Chrome was not compatible with NVIDIA GPUs, which meant that GPU acceleration could not be enabled in Chrome across any workspace. This has now been resolved by enabling Vulkan graphics rendering for Chrome inside workspaces, allowing GPU acceleration support on Google Chrome. Updates to session sharing. Starting in 1.18, we are deprecating the Kasm share and Redis containers. As a result, the chat functionality will no longer be available when sharing sessions. You will also notice that the session sharing UI has now been updated to reflect this change. In 1.18, we have also updated our Helm chart for Kubernetes, which still remains in technical preview, but now includes a range of new capabilities. The Helm chart now supports deploying a standalone database, making it easier to scale and manage data services. It also adds support for Kasm upgrades and multi-zone deployments, giving administrators more flexibility in how they operate their clusters. The Helm chart now also supports a connection proxy for multi-region deployments. In addition, we have also introduced a variety of new configurable options, such as the ability to define annotations and labels directly on Kubernetes resources. You can refer to our release notes to see a full list of bug fixes and other enhancements that we are bringing in 1.18. If you're already running an earlier release of Kasm, you can upgrade your deployment to 1.18 by following our step-by-step upgrade guide. As always, we'd love to hear your feedback. You can connect with us on our Reddit community or open a discussion on our GitHub issue tracker. For more details, be sure to check the links in the description for release notes, documentation, and demos.